Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
We are in the midst of our study of Kant's ethical system, portion you had a look at yesterday. The system is known as duty for duty's sake, as you heard yesterday. It is also called categorical imperative. Categorical imperative. Imperative is a word from the language. Imperative means an order, a command. It is not a request, it is an order, it is a command. Categorical means unconditional. It applies in all conditions. It is not applicable sometimes and not sometimes. The idea is the majesty of the moral law is uncompromising, and whatever the moral law dictates, you have got to carry it out. There is no option with you. It is not your choice or kindness, you have to carry it out. From the Bollinger baby case itself, you must have surmised how hardened Kant is in his approach to moral philosophy. The school of formalism is led by Kant, as I told you. Kant is reputed to have said, "Two things strike me with ever new wonder. Two things strike me with ever new wonder. The starry heavens above and the moral law within." Here again, two things strike me with ever new wonder. I am wonderstruck every time when I think of these two things. The starry heavens above. Who put the heavens above in the sky? They are hanging, the moon and the stars. All these things are there. It is a wonder who put them there. And the moral law within. In the heart of man resides the moral law. Who put it there? The moral law is revealed by the conscience. It is all very well you looked at the axioms of morality, but first the moral law must come. Where is the moral law? Moral law is in your heart. Your heart, your so-called conscience reveals it. It is revealed, it is self-revealed. It is not imposed from outside. If it is imposed from outside, it won't be morality. Because I told you yesterday, freedom of will is the first requirement for any person to act morally. If you are bound, you are not acting morally. You are acting under duress. You are bound, you are not answerable for what you have done. That is there. Two things strike me with ever new wonder, the starry heavens and the moral law within. The law is revealed within you. It is revealed within every man. He need not be educated. He need not be going to a university or an academy. It is revealed within every man. But because of other considerations, his vested interest, his temptation, his weakness, he lets go the stranglehold of the moral law and acts otherwise. Otherwise, the law is revealed within every man. Categorical imperative. A little bit of brush with logic is also necessary sometimes in understanding philosophy better. Categorical comes from types of propositions which are taught in logic, conditional or hypothetical and categorical. Hypothetical means conditional. Certain things happen in certain conditions only. If it rains tomorrow, I will not come to the academy. This is a sentence, meaningful sentence. If it rains tomorrow, I will not come to the academy. This is a hypothetical proposition, conditional. My not coming depends upon there being rains. If there are no rains, I will come naturally. If there are rains, I will not come. This is a hypothetical judgment or a statement, as opposed to his categorical statement, which applies in all circumstances. The doctor has no right to inquire whether the life will be worthwhile or not. She has to do her duty, and that is to protect life at all costs. That is the doctor's primary duty, and she failed it. The formal argument is correct. This life is not worthwhile. We have been learning parrot like that life is holy, life is sacrosanct, life is valuable, life is worthy of worship and respect, no doubt. But why? Why is it all there? Because every life holds a promise for the future. It may do some wonder, it may do something big, it may do something great in time to come. And this invests life with a sense of respect and holiness. Therefore, it is sacrosanct. The formalists do not consider all this. They say the form should be correct. Whatever the content is not your discretion. Content is what will follow in the natural course. Your duty is to be correct to the form, to adhere to the form, That is all important. So it is called Kant's formalism also, categorical imperative also, and duty for duty's sake also. This is Kant's system. I told you the maxims of morality yesterday, freedom of the will. The most crucial point in any moral behavior is the freedom of the will. Whatever the set of morality you may be employing or bringing into play, the first requirement is freedom of the will. If you have no freedom of the will, your action cannot qualify to be called a moral action. If you are under duress, under force, under pressure, and have got to do a course of action, take up a course of action, you are not answerable for that. You are answerable only insofar as you move as a free agent. You have the choice, and at least one choice should be there. Choice means two ways of doing a thing, and one way you have chosen, you have employed, the other way is also available to you. The simple proposition is, where you came to the class, you could as well not come to the class. Is this possibility open to you? If it is, your action is moral. If it is not, your action is not moral. Freedom of the will, as I told you. Immortality of the soul. This is also very important, because in his epistemology, Kant tells you, I do not know how the ego works and the soul is immortal. He has not proved it, he has dogmatically accepted it that the soul is immortal from the moral argument, because morality does not come to an end in one life only. One life is too short. Moral struggle continues for lives together. And in one life, there may be perceptible immorality, injustice. Who will correct it? Who will balance it? In order to balance it, in order to correct it, you need more than one life. And that is why he accepts the immortality of the soul. Soul is immortal, plays out the drama and works out its destiny moral as it is. And then to guarantee all this, and chiefly to undo the injustice to the moral and colossal favoritism to the immoral, to the vicious, you need a correcting agency, and that correcting agency is God. God will correct this imbalance. The virtuous may be suffering in this life, but they shall be made amends in the next life, and they will be compensated in the life to come. That is why the agency of God is important. I don't think any one of you has been quick here to observe that the idea of God which Kant has brought in is not rationally born. He has brought it simply because God is a practical necessity. Without God being there, no moral justice, moral cycle is possible. Therefore, God is a practical justice. As I told you about his book, The Critique of Pure Reason, there is another book, Critique of Practical Reason. Critique of Practical Reason deals with the aspect of morality. Morality is revealed within you. The agency of God is essential. Because of practical necessity, you have to accept God. This is a matter he has brought in on faith, not so much on reason. This practical necessity for God arises in order that the moral balance may be maintained. It should never occur that the vicious are prospering and the virtuous are suffering. That is why it is necessary. You saw the three axioms: freedom of the will, immortality of soul, and existence of God. It is all very well high-sounding, nice to hear about, but how do we actually work out our destiny in this life? How do we act? How do we choose? Who will guide us in a particular situation? In a particular situation of life, who will guide us? What is the guidance, practical guidance? What is my duty in life in a particular situation? That is a simple question. Whom would you go to inquire, what is my duty, tell me? Every man is not adept at hearing the voice of conscience. You say you are not able to decipher what your conscience dictates. It induces drowsiness. Or no, it does. The way you appear to be. Kant cannot be thought of even, you would learn dozing. Critique of Pure Reason, I told you, is a book which people do not directly read, but about which people read. Even scholars, do not directly take to the study of the Critique of Pure Reason. They read about the book what others have written on it. It is that book, Critique of Pure Reason. After all, his friend returned it half read, saying he feared for his sanity. He feared he may go mad. It is the truth. You have to be extra alert in going to Kant. In most of the syllabi, they ignore Kant because they cannot teach Kant. His ethical system, of course, is very easy. His epistemology is a little tough. Tough meaning it requires little more attention, that's all. the three maxims you had a look at, then what is the practical guidance available to you in life? The doctor asks you at that moment, now tell me who will guide me. Should I perform the operation or should I not perform the operation? You cannot deliver an academic argument. Your formal duty is this. Your teleological duty is this. What do I do? You have not told her exactly what should be done. Who would guide you? For this, he has laid down three maxims, three principles of behavior. They are called maxims of morality. Maxims means principles. M-A-X-I-M. Maxim. They are principles of morality. The first is the most wonderful, and I think all in all. Act on that maxim which thou canst at the same time will to be universal. You hear it again. Act. You want guidance, he says act on that maxim. Maxim means principle, which you can at the same time will to be universal. This is the first maxim, first dictum, first principle of practical behavior morality. What does it mean? In such cases, we should take an example. With the aid and assistance of the example, we may be able to understand it easily and better also. Supposing there is an examination going on, you are writing your paper, there is some material for cheating on your person also. You have the material to cheat. The opportunity is also appropriate. The invigilator is outside, gossiping with the neighboring invigilator in the veranda outside. The field is free for you to cheat. You can take to it. You are tossing whether to cheat or not to cheat. To be or not to be, that is the question. You are in that quandary. You choose to cheat. Kant says very well, go ahead. But allow the right of cheating to everyone in the hall. Why in the hall? Only in the examination, the total examination. Give this right to every man. Act on that maxim which thou canst at the same time will to be universal. You are prepared to give this right of cheating to everyone else. Where would you be? You would be where you are. Because the additional advantage which you hope to corner or garner will be available to everyone else, and the same disparity will continue. And if this practice becomes universal, nobody will have any faith in an examination, nobody will hold it and nobody will take it. Kant has given the example of breaking promises. He has given an example of breaking promise. A borrower goes to a lender, asks for money to be loaned. He promises he would return it. He does not return it. He has given the example of breaking promise. You break your promise once, twice, 3 times, 10 times. Nobody would have any faith in your belief, in your promise. Because they know you make promises only to break, not to maintain or sustain them. Nobody would believe in your promise, and therefore promises also will cease to be made. When nobody believes in your promise, why would you make any promise either? He has given the example of breaking promises. It will be impossible to live in an environment entirely contrary to it. Act on that maxim. Maxim means principle. Which thou canst. Canst is the poetic form of can. Which you can. Thou canst means which you can. At the same time, will means desire to be universal, meaning you are prepared to give this right to everyone else placed in your situation. Are you prepared? Yes, go ahead. Freely, happily, and nicely. If you say no, you are not willing to concede it to all, then it lacks moral quality. It needs to be thought over again, and you should recast your response. That is the first maxim. I personally think I am a very small man to think on those matters, but I personally think if you keep in mind just this one principle, everything is available to you for living a moral life. Whatever you do, you ask yourself, tarry a while, ask yourself, are you prepared to give this right to every man placed in this situation? If your answer is yes, go ahead. If your answer is no, there is some fault in your moral action, in your course of behavior. You have to revise it and reconsider it. That is the first maxim, and it is all important. Act on that maxim which thou canst at the same time will to be universal. The second maxim is never use thine own person or anyone else's person as a means but always as an end. Now, means and end is also a very big problem in philosophy. Your schedule for study is 2 months. They are taught philosophy for 6 years there. All these things are taught there. End and means. Now take an example as I told you. Your end means goal, your destination is to get the certificate at the end of this term. Can't it boring, but always remember one thing. When you attempt to do a difficult thing, there is a sense of greater gratification. If you do an easy thing, gratification is there. But if you do a difficult thing, greater gratification is there. You try it yourself, you will find it true. Yes, your goal is to get the certificate at the end of the term. Term means 2 months. That is your goal, you should get the certificate. But what are the means to getting the certificate? That you are studying for 2 months. You are maintaining the regimen for these 2 months. You are doing everything, getting up at 4 o'clock and all the, schedule you are carrying out. This is the means to the attainment of the certificate. This is the means to the attainment of the certificate. The attainment of the certificate is the goal, is the end, E-N-D. End means the goal. It means the same thing in language also, goal means an end. The end naturally is superior, is the realized effort, fulfillment of effort. The means are just aids to its attainment. Looking at superficially also, it means the means are inferior than the end. The end is superior in quality, meaning it is the end of the fulfillment. It is the fulfillment of the desired goal. The means are only aids to it, assistances to it. Meaning, ordinarily, means are looked down upon and the end is lauded, is extolled. Ordinarily, it appears to be like this only. But it is a great error in the sense, means and end are not diverse, are not different from each other. We think that is the end. You think the getting the certificate is the one thing and the effort to it is another thing. The effort is outside. The getting of the certificate is another thing. It is not like this. Means and effort or goal and destination are not watertight compartments. The one falls into the other. As you put in more and more, greater and greater means, you go closer and closer to the goal, to the destination, to the desired value. The means falls into the end. As you go near the end falls into the goal, into the means. It inspires you, it provokes you to put in more effort. So to think that means and end are divorced and separate is not proper. The means fall into the end inspires the means. It is a very organic relationship. And therefore, as the means, so the goal. All revolutions in the history of man, had very laudable aims, very laudable goals, praiseworthy goals. The French Revolution, the Russian Revolution had very laudable ideas to inspire them. They were carried on with the fervent hope and sure belief that all ills of mankind would end, but they did not end. The Russian Revolution was sullied by the means it employed: violence, bloodshed, this, that. And that was also the history post-revolution, 1917, Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. Even the Indian Revolution, freedom movement also was sullied to an extent because there was a temporary phase of taking to the means of violence. So, what I mean to impress upon you is that the means, determines the quality of the end goal also. Howsoever pure it may appear to be at the beginning, but if the means employed are less pure, the goal is bound to be affected. The purpose is bound to be sullied. You cannot help it. So to think that means are separate and end is separate is erroneous. The means fall into the goal falls into the means. And so he says, do not devalue a man, not even your own person, not anybody else's person. Whole economic system of capitalist society is based upon this. The labor of another man is made a means, a tool for your enrichment. Whatever it may be, it is none of our concerns here. But he says, always respect a man as a goal, as an end in itself. There is nothing more to be sought out of him, beyond him. Whatever it is he only. So he says, never use thine own person or anybody else's person. You are all married man. Kant says, a husband using his wife for the purpose of pleasure is immoral. For the purpose of progeny only, it is acceptable and justified. He went to this extent. Unfortunately, as I told you, Kant himself was not married. But he gave this example. Even the person of your own wife you are not supposed to be using as a means, always as an end for the propagation of the race. It is acceptable. So he says, not just your person. The third postulate is, act always as a member of the kingdom of ends and never as a member of the kingdom of means. Meaning, Wherever, in whatever situation you are, whatever the subject or object, always act as a member of the kingdom of ends. Whatever you are dealing with is the end, is the goal, is the destination itself. It is not a means to another goal outside it. That is subjecting it to disrespect. He accorded such high respect to everything under the sun. Act always as a member of the kingdom of ends. Everything is an end in itself. It is never made a means to another thing, another goal, another desire, another value outside it. That is Kantian way of thinking. So these are his three postulates. These are his three maxims, his principles of behavior, so that you can get practical guidance out of these. Those were the three postulates of morality, axioms of morality, to guide you in your practical life, and this is his ethical system. Now see, we shall have a critical look at the whole philosophy. Kantian philosophy starts with the premise that you should be doing your duty only. Duty is revealed by reason, by rationally. Man is not merely reason. Man is no doubt reason, but he is not merely reason. He is senses also. He is sensibility also. There are the two selves in man, the higher self and the lower self, as Kant talks of. The higher self is the rational self. It leads you on rationally, it guides you on rationally. The lower self is the animal self, made of appetites, made of desires, made of sensibilities. It is the sign of animality, a vestige of animality in you. It should be got rid of, the sooner the better. But you cannot get rid of it, it is bestowed by nature. Both things go hand in hand, the lower self and the higher self. But Kant advocates the suppression of the lower self. You suppress. Do not indulge in your desires, in your appetites. Live a rational life. Be guided by reason only. This is what is known as sannyasvad, asceticism. Animality is a part of human existence. It cannot be wished away. It may be evolved, it may be raised higher, but it cannot be eliminated. That is perhaps a misreading which Kant had, because psychology tells us if there is suppression only, there is bound to be explosion one day. Appetites are not suppressed permanently. They will explode, finding a favorable opportunity. So that way also it is unacceptable and undesirable. It is formal only also. There is no content to it in the self. You act according to a principle only. A principle, after all, is not a live entity as a human being is. It is a cold, calculated affair to guide you. So, this type of approach to morality is Kantian philosophy, and this is enough for you, more than enough for you. We finish Kant's ethical system. Now, I think with you, Hegel remains to be done. In the first half of the period, approximately, I will take up Hegel with you, do it. And in nearly the second half of the period, you can ask me any question you like. You were jumping with questions at the beginning. You can bring all your questions tomorrow, ask me. Tell me also anything you like. No offense will be taken, be sure. And then we shall wind up and Hari Om for today. Third maxim? Maxim or principle? Act only as a member of the kingdom of ends and never as a member of the kingdom of means.